am Jen from 5051. I'm a local organizer. Um, and I've been organizing for a while. I'm new to 5051 because 5051 is new, but I have a degree in photojournalism and a BFA in fine arts. So um, when this came along, press and media became my bread and butter. So I am here to share all of my experiences and best practices with y'all. Alexa, turn on kitchen. Oh, I can't turn on my kitchen light switch. Um, and if you guys have any questions, like, of course, I'm not the end all be all. But I'm going to give you my best practices and what's worked really successfully for our in my history and for 5051. So, um, the first thing I want to talk about is the difference between media alerts versus press releases. So what we're actually doing for events are not press releases, they're media alerts. Press releases is when you're conveying like a response to something that has occurred or something that is ongoing. Media alerts are just basically letting the different media outlets know what is going on. And yeah, thank you, Tiffany. What's going on and what events are coming up. So it's really important that when we're sending out these press releases, as you call them, that we really do address them as media alerts because there is a very specific difference in meaning to that. So the first thing we'll talk about is building your press database. There are different types of media. Believe it or not, print still exists. There's TV, there's online articles, just lots of different varieties of news and media. So please note, this doesn't include social media. So we're talking about actual legitimate news and media outlets. So Instagram does not count in this situation. So for building your press database, cool, awesome. So for building your press database, honestly, it takes a lot of research. So if you guys like to dig for information, hunt stuff up, this is something that you could assign to somebody who loves to do this kind of research. One of the main resources that I use is Wikipedia, ironically enough. And then there's another resource called EIN Presswire. So Echo Indigo November Presswire. This will help you find not only local media contacts, but you can find things like newspaper publications, a lot of things in a centralized location so that you don't have to like go hit up individual insights or websites, sorry, and dig stuff up. I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions so far? And I apologize if I talk fast. I'm a project manager. I'm super hyper. Nope. Cool. So yeah, Wikipedia, EIN, Presswire are going to be your best bets. When you are building this database, it's really important to pay attention to a few things. There's global news, there's national news, there's local news. When you're building this database, for example, ours is basically on a glorified spreadsheet. It's really important to identify these types of different, not only geographic locations, but also the audience that you're speaking with, also with the type of media. So ABC Universal is different than Denver ABC 7, you know. And the reason it's important to pay attention to these different types of outreach is because it might be more impacting. If there's like a major event, for example, No Kings, the original one, I was actually sending press releases internationally and got responses internationally. So for a smaller, like 2,000 person protest, you probably don't want to go outside of the state. You probably don't need to go to national news, things like that. So the other thing to keep an idea is who is the audience. So you could have journals or news publications that are more business oriented, publications that are, you know, variety of interests. But for example, if you're doing a protest for immigrants' rights, you might want to really make sure that you're pushing hard on sending press releases specifically to any publications that also specialize in immigrant rights and things like that. So it doesn't have to go super in depth, but just like one or two keywords like business journal or current events or neighborhood news or things like that, that you can identify these different types of media outlets. Not only that, but you want to talk about geographic locations, as in what target audiences are they reaching. There's really not a lot of reason for me to send, for example, Colorado Springs, ABC, a smaller event, news information that's happening for maybe like a smaller event. But for No Kings, because it's such a big event, like I will literally shout out like every org I can get a hold of, because maybe it's a chance for smaller orgs that don't have the ability to have a press and media team to reach out and have news contact or have media and different publications show up for promotion. It's also really important to know that if you have a left-leaning, center-leaning, right-leaning newspaper, like find out a little bit about your news sources. There are some news publications that are very specifically right-leaning, and it's probably not a good idea to send press releases to those publications. There are some times where you're going to get major publications where it's going to be submission only, so you can't actually send them a press release. So you have to manually go to their website and drop the press release into a field and submit it manually. It's really important that when you are gathering your databases, if it is a submission only, it's just make sure that you note that, so you're not missing, like CNN specifically is going to be submission only. Yeah, so MeidasTouch would absolutely count in the media eco stream. I think it's really important. That's a really awesome point. It's that we are being ignored in the news. Fox News was shot down on running a story on us by their producers because they don't want to seem as political or picking a side. So yeah, MeidasTouch is absolutely on my press database. There's a couple other like that are what you call webcasts or something like that. I absolutely include them in there. They have the ability to reach. Yeah, honestly, Adam Mockler, Harry Sisson, if you can find a media contact for these people, there is no fish too small. News is news is news. Yes, the Daily Beans is a great one. What is it? The Mueller report. Like you can contact, and again, it depends. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, Katie Fang, perfect, because she got bumped off the MSNBC. Like, reach out to journalists, reach out to Rachel Maddow, reach out to people that like specific newscasters. There's ways to get a hold of people. These are all great ideas. Any other questions before I move on? I'm sorry if I'm trying to do my best to like see questions at the same time. Yes, Katie Fang I love Katie Fang. She's amazing. Okay. So building the actual content itself, when you build your database, not only do you want to use keywords and identify different media types, but you want to actually maintain like a point of contact. So if you have somebody that you do know, obviously use that point of contact, but I always suggest finding every version of the email. Sometimes there's going to be a couple different emails for, depending on, it could be like the news desk or the latest story or the editor's desk. Make sure that you're finding all those email contacts that you possibly can for each entity and tracking them. You also want to track any phone numbers you can get a hold of, the URL for the main page, and then the contact page URL, because what happens is people move, people disappear. You know what I mean? Like, and you're going to get bounce backs on email. So you want to be able to easily navigate to that contact page and make sure that you're keeping your database up to date. And we'll talk about bounce backs and outreach in a second. So, any questions on contacts, on maintaining the database, who to add, researching, anything like that?
Laura has a question.
Okay, what's up?
You're muted. We can't hear you.
That's okay.
I have a question.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. I here I can turn my video on. Oh, there's
Can you hear me while she looks? Okay. So here's my thing. My thing is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm Lauren. I'm with Indivisible Lakewood. Hi. Um, so we do quite a bit of outreach locally. And what would be really helpful is if either through 5051, anybody, if we could get someone to create like a master list of for our local media stations, radio stations, blah, 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 on how to contact and link us up to it, because once we're there, we're good to go.
Yeah, I got you. I've been building a database. I have about 300,
Yay.
300 contacts, local, national, and international. So
Wonderful.
yeah, I'm happy to share that with everybody.
Yes,
I'll
share it
put
with
that in the, I'll put a link to download that in the follow-up email tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Cool, rock and roll. I'm still here if you have a question. All right. So let's talk about actual outreach. So to be time efficient, you can send mass emails or you can send individual. It really depends on how you guys want to do it. If you guys are looking to start sending out mass press databases, so basically like you BCC 300 people so that you don't have to send out 300 press contacts, you're going to have to invest in some sort of, I can't think of it, mass distribution platform. If you try to do this through Outlook, through Gmail, they're going to start shutting you down. So just be aware of that. If you're not trying to send out to a whole ton of people at the same time to make your life easier, then you can go ahead and, yeah, MailChimp is a good one. We, as an org, invested in Constant Contact because I can grow my database too. So as it's really, yeah, it's really helpful, and you will never get bounced back or get your email account shut down because of it. So I do suggest building an email database off of the press database. So when I send it over to you, you guys will notice that there's a secondary tab where it's nothing but emails. Cool. Katie uses Constant Contact too. That's really important for being able to send to be able to easily send things like that. Constant Contact will absolutely upload your press date or your database as is. The one that I will share with you guys is absolutely able to be loaded into Constant Contact as is. But just keep an eye out for that when you're sending things, is usually bumping them over to just a pure raw email database is the easiest way. So as far as the outreach itself, so there should be always a media contact that these are coming from. Whether your org has a designated person or a designated team that does that, or if you guys rotate out, that's completely up to you guys. But you want to make sure that for each event, you have one person that's designated as the media contact. That person can receive interview requests, either participate in the interview themselves or delegate out to the right team members or the right participating orgs for them to conduct interviews and things like that. So like I said, however you do that, you just want to make sure that you stay consistent per event. Frequency of outreach. So the idea for basically you want to ramp up your outreach to media. And it goes very much in line with the finalization of your planning. When you send the first media alert, it's really not going to have a lot of concrete details in it. It's just saying this is going down on this day. You may have times, you may not. It's okay to send like 3 weeks out, to send a media alert like twice in a week. Totally okay. Like on a Monday and a Friday. Hey y'all, this is coming. Here just to remind you again. 2 weeks out from an event, that's when you want to really start being pretty consistent. And it depends on how big of an event it is. If it's like No Kings, ideally we started sending press releases like a month ago. We sent one. The second week we sent two. The third week we're going to start going every other day. And by the week of, you're literally like banging down their doors with this press release. And again, and we'll talk about this in a second, but as you finalize your planning, that's when you're going to start including really concrete details and information into the press release as far as the content. So any questions on that one? Nope. Okay, cool. So this is when your target audiences become really helpful. So, for example, for No Kings, that's something that I would blast internationally. I have no problem doing that. For something like the Chicano moratorium, I would do state and local, things like that, you know? So, just remember that when it comes to this, you also want to do your manual entries. So once you start the press release, send it to everybody in mass, and then go into the actual forms for each of the contact pages that you keep, and copy pasta your press release right into that field. So let's talk about formatting of your actual press release. And I can bring up an example. It's not an ideal example, but it just happens to be recent in my history. So, and I apologize if I'm going quick because I know I don't have a lot of time. So I'm trying to get as much information in as I possibly can. So the press release is really just meat and potatoes. This isn't flowery information. This isn't extravagant detail. This is meat and potatoes. You want to be able to glance at it quickly, get the gist of it, and then move on. So when I set up my press releases, the first thing at the top are going to be org logos. So anybody that's participating up into this point, add their logos to the top of it. Please note that you can always add more people later. This isn't the final press release. It just grows like as everything else grows. Below that, you want to have the media contact. So usually it's going to be your name, your title in the org, and then media contact below that. So like it would say Jennifer Bradley, local organizer 5051 Colorado, media contact. We don't really have titles, which is why it says I would call myself local organizer because we're decentralized. But yeah. So after the media contact, you're going to have your release date. So you always want to keep your release date, and it needs to say literally release date, the date. And then below that is going to say, and let me see, instead of just saying it's going to say, let me pull up the one that I sent Tiffany and Morgan for this event.
You're funny.
Sorry, that's my hold music.
I want your voice doing that to be my hold music.
Oh, dude, right? I work from home and I work in IT, so I'm always like on the computer, and I forget frequently that other people can hear me when I do stuff. So here we go. I'm going to broadcast my screen one and broadcasting. Okay. So let me go back to my press release. Literally just super generic. Sorry, Tiffany, I'm going to hide your head. Okay. So, you'll see right there, it says, it should say.
Then let me share it because it's really tiny.
Is it? Okay, yeah. Please share it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
It's so small.
That's okay. I think I just opened it.
Yeah. Okay, so while you're opening that, I'll keep talking for efficiency. So it says it should say media alert right above where it says for immediate release. It should say media alert for immediate release, and then No Kings 2.0. And that's where you want to put for immediate release and the name of your event. And the first paragraph is super easy. It's who, what, when, where, and why. So who is Solidarity Warriors? And you can say multiple orgs, or you can say is partnering with multiple local activationist orgs. So who, what, to host a rally, march, and activist fair at the Colorado State Capitol. There's when the event will be held from 12 to 4 on Saturday, October 18th. They want to know the expected attendance. So I usually approximate 10,000 people. It's probably going to be more than that, but that's okay.
So
This is part of a national mass mobilization event. So that's the what or why. What I do sometimes, and you'll see that right here, says click here for the full list of participating organizations as well as more details about the event. I make a one sheet. So nobody wants to see 3,000 organizations listed on a press release. So what I will do is I will keep an alphabetized list of all the participating orgs. If anything interesting pops up like, for example, activities, musical acts, things like that. I'll keep it on that one sheet, and they can click that directly from the press release to get more details, know what No Kings is about, things like that. A schedule of events, just really clean and concise, the headliner. So 12 to 4 is the fair, 12 to 12:30 speakers, 12:30 to 1:30 is the march, 1:30 to 4 speakers music. Easy peasy. You can indicate whether speakers and or organizers will be available for media interviews. Usually you want to double check with the speakers beforehand. Usually they're not unwilling to be interviewed by the press because they're there to speak at a massive event. So they're kind of expecting it. But you definitely want to confirm. But otherwise, your media contact will be your main point of communication for any interviews, requests, things like that. And then the second part, and this is a little wordy, but I didn't know exactly what Tiffany and Morgan wanted, so I just kind of gave them some paragraphs of fluff. And it could literally stop after the first paragraph. Like, it wouldn't have to be continued, but I didn't know how they wanted to phrase it, so I just basically gave them a lot of verbiage from that. So always keep it to one page. It should never go above one page. Anything after the schedule shouldn't really be more than 2 paragraphs at most, and they should be pretty short paragraphs. Again, this isn't here. We're not here to like write an essay. We're here to get their attention, explain very quickly what this is about, and then move on with it. So like I said, if you want to get more detail, you can do the one sheet. It's really helpful. There you go. So, and then at the bottom, you always want to include a social media link. It just gives them a little idea about who you are, what you represent, who your organization is. It gives you legitimacy, and like, you're not just some random person that's like, hi, I'm throwing a protest. Like, we're an actual movement. So come check us out, So, okay. Having said that, I did want to talk a little bit about press interviews and things like that, but is there any questions about the press release before I blow through press interviews really quickly? Love it. Okay, so the press. It's very important that you go into interviews prepared. So you want to know the purpose of your event. You want to know your org. Just have talking points prepared. Not only about the event, but the purpose of the event, what you're trying to accomplish. I really suggest practicing with someone, practicing interview questions, just so you have a chance to basically you can say it out loud before you're doing it in front of a camera, because people start talking really quickly. They start getting brain dead, like, you know what I mean? So you just want to practice. You have absolutely the right to say, I don't want to answer that question. That's not something I'm comfortable discussing. You have the right to push back. And the reason I say that is because there will be gotcha questions. And I really, really, really suggest that you guys practice things like, for example, when I was Shal Turner, who I like, but I was doing a Fox interview with her, and she said, well, don't you think the law matters? Like, why are you protesting if these people are here illegally? Isn't that against the law? And don't you think the law matters? And it was just trying to get me. And I had been prepared though, but my response to that is my concern is about the defense of the Constitution. And when you only worry about your rights, that's exactly when you lose them. The Constitution applies to all people. It's not citizens, it's we the people. And so I'm here defending constitutional rights for all people, period. You will get gotcha questions like that. The media is not our friends, guys. Like, they are bought and paid for. They are ignoring us. They're not broadcasting what's going on. They're scared. And I can't say it better than Fox. We have a reporter from Fox, like Denver, that we have a good relationship with, and she wanted to do a story for us for Labor Day, and her producer told her she's not allowed to cover it. So don't be discouraged if you don't get a lot of responses. It's kind of par for the course. They may show up the day of. It's just, and if you do, just be prepared for on the spot interviews day of. But it's really important that we thank them when they show up. We encourage them when they show up. But just know that, your words can be edited. So just be really prepared going into interviews. And it's, again, nothing wrong with establishing boundaries. I won't answer that. I'm not comfortable discussing that. I'd rather focus on this information. So I know that's really quick and I talked a lot and I'm really sorry. It's like a crash course in press and media, but any questions about anything that I discussed or threw out there or anything?
Do you think it's good to have one person from your organization designated to handle day of press interviews?
So,
Or
it,
should
it kind of depends
multiple
on
people do
your
it?
org. Like, I do definitely, usually the event lead is gonna be the one that's gonna be doing interviews. That's who they want to talk to. And like, we designated someone, like my org designates me to do a lot of the interviews, especially day of, because humble brag, I'm good at it. I have no problem hopping in front of a camera and I'm very comfortable and I'm practiced. So, but having said that, I very much am cautious about always being the face of it because 5051 is decentralized. So it's really important to me that I'm not perpetually the voice or the face in camera. Like I want other people to be represented. And that's really important for me. So that's why I say that it depends on your org. If you have a media team and you have one person that does the interviews and that's their person, cool, man, go for it and designate that person to be your on-site point of contact. If you don't have that, again, it's usually the person that organized the event is who they're going to want to talk to, and participants as well. So
Hey, Jen,
yeah.
one of the things I know is that a lot of times media assignments are given out day of. So they may decide who's going to go and cover the rally.
Yep.
Like that day, or
Yep.
more importantly, a lot of people work Monday to Friday. And if your event is on a Saturday or a Sunday, make sure they know about it on Friday so that they can make the assignment before they go away for the weekend.
Oh yeah, press releases should be sent on a daily basis the week of an event. Honestly, if you're being an ass, sometimes an AM and PM release. Like you want to make sure that they cannot have ignored this press release at this point in time. You will get a lot of assignments day of. You may or may not get interviews ahead of time. No Kings last time we got it. Last couple events we got interview requests ahead of time. And then some events, like there literally no media shows up. So, kind of grain of salt situation, but you know, just be consistent, be persistent. That's all.
This is a little granular. You said, put the highlights, the schedule right in the middle of the who, what, where, when kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you put in the other stuff? Like the paragraph above and below.
Brittany Peterson just called me. So below, you just want to put a little bit about what the event itself is about. Like No Kings is about taking back blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? You just want to describe the event just in like really succinct 2 paragraphs. You know what I mean? It just depends on what your event is. I think for Labor Day, I talked about, how the administration is affecting workers and labor unions and things like that, and why this is important. But it's really just you want to give them like a little taste, a little flavor of what you're fighting for. Nothing crazy.
Keep
No
it
ass.
simple. Good.
Yeah, keep it simple, Smarty. Kiss it.
I haven't heard it put quite that way, but I'll go with it.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer than the other version.
Hadar, I believe you had your hand up earlier. Did you still want to ask a question?
So, thanks. I guess, this is my first meeting, and I'm just really excited at that kind of immediately that there's just so much, like content and information to, like to work with, and yeah, so it's just very exciting. And I was, like, it was kind of just a question of curiosity in terms of with an event that's as, it's national No Kings on the 18th, right? It's the national
Mhm.
Or is it national or is it Colorado?
It's international, actually.
National.
It's
Yeah.
international. Right. Okay. So with something with that much hype, like, um, do you think we should be sending press releases like daily, even like
Yes.
now? Or is that, you know what I mean? Like, because it's
Yeah.
just
Like
like
honestly,
so
at this point,
massive.
we should be sending them like every other day. And then starting Saturday, like I will blow them up. Like I will absolutely blow them up. Like for something
Yeah.
that if I'm doing
Just like
international, the
every
reason
5 minutes.
2 days is because of the time difference. So I'll do it in the morning and then I'll do a night press release so that I know it's hitting the other side of the world at the appropriate time. Yeah, absolutely. Go crazy. Go
Nice.
ahead.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Of course.
I
If
guess,
we would like also like for training, like if we've never done press releases and we'd just like to like run things by someone with experience, like can we just send that to you directly? Like, or is that like, is there like a
No,
team of people that we can
no, please. I'm
send
here to help.
stuff to?
Like I'm absolutely here.
Okay,
Like
awesome. Yeah, it would be really
yeah,
sweet to get,
yeah,
it would be amazing to like get, yes, like support to be able to practice or to be able to kind of figure out like what role to play if, yeah,
yeah,
because I feel very ineloquent in front of cameras, but like I like if it's just like the more testimonies and the more people are like sharing their story with like we can
exactly.
be brave, kind of thing. But I'm like kind of
Exactly.
thinking like,
The more
yeah,
practice you get, the easier it
oh my
becomes.
gosh.
Nervous you get, you can you can have conversations instead of just like like word vomiting on people. So yeah,
Right.
it just takes practice. But yeah, I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
Part of the things that we're doing is 5051 is developing a mass event training, not a mass event guide document. And one of those things that I'm going to be working on specifically are interview questions, like what to look out for, what to keep an eye out for, how to handle tough questions and things like that. Because
Okay.
yeah, yeah. You know
Cool.
how they can edit
Great.
sound to make it sound all sorts of ways. So
Yeah. I'm kind of because yeah, I mean this is kind of like a side idea or thought, but like in the sense of like public discourse and getting challenged or getting like kind of jabbed with like quick interview questions. It with everything with the Charlie, I'd never even heard of Charlie Kirk before his assassination. Like I'd like never even like I had no idea what it was, which is crazy probably because it's just like I'm out of the loop. Um, but
good for you.
then
Good for you, man.
it was just like it was this crazy thing to like catch up in this entire phenomenon that was like fueling MAGA that like I had no idea or like
Yeah.
fueling like the entire like alt-right movement. And so there's kind of this like aha moment of like, oh, like counter counter is counterterrorism the word I want to use
Yeah.
here? Like in terms of like how can we open up like dialogue and discourse and kind of combat a little bit more eloquently in spaces that have been really dominated by these bullying forces, and like how do we kind of transcend like the bullying forces while also kind of becoming very agile.
Hadar, I'm glad you brought that up, because first of all, I
Sorry
want
for
to say
rambling.
welcome. And I keep forgetting that we have new people every meeting. One of the things that we do is teach people how to do things. And we've done it from the very beginning where we started with movement building, and every week we have a different topic based on something that people will need to know. So this week's topic is press releases and media because we're leading up to the protest. Tiffany, we're doing another protest overview next week, right?
So we're going to go over, it's going to be our last meeting before No Kings 2, Return of the Resistance is what we're calling it in Denver. So we're going to go over how to protest safely. We're going to go over all the details of the No Kings 2 event in Denver and answer any questions that people have. Real quick, I know someone had their hand up before you, Jenny. I just wanted to addressed Laura's concern in the chat. She mentioned that we have smaller and smaller turnouts lately in Denver. And what is the purpose or why are there protests all over the place in all the suburbs. I don't know if that's a concern in other big cities, but in Denver, we've had a hard time getting over. I think 12 to 15,000 people is what we had at No Kings or the first No Kings, which is amazing. But it's much smaller than cities of similar size in other states. So I am with you, Laura. I appreciated the way they did the hands-off protest, which was they let people start events in other cities, but they asked everyone within driving distance of Denver to come to Denver. So I think that that is a better strategy. Having said that, the reason coming from National Indivisible that they do this is that they can say things to the media like we have over 2,300 events across the country. I think it is important that people in rural areas do see that there are people that think like them, that agree that we have a fascist dictator that we need to get rid of and that we have no kings in America. But there's pros and cons to both sides.
And just to add to that,
And I just,
um,
sorry.
well, I was just going to say Denver's a little bit unique because there are so many actually large metropolitan areas in such a close proximity. You have Boulder, you have Colorado Springs, you have Fort Collins. All of these in most other states are cities that are separated by hundreds of miles. One of my personal things, and I don't know if this will actually happen, would be like to rotate through some of these bigger cities and concentrate not all separately, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But go ahead, Laura.
Oh, okay. Well, two things here. My point is there's always, always, always strength in numbers, no matter what, how you look at it. And that's what the media wants to see. I agree absolutely in these more rural areas that we have. Yes, they need to be able to show force. And when we did the first No Kings, was it in April? Yeah. Rachel Maddow and really got into the smaller towns, even here in Colorado, which was absolutely wonderful. But this thing started to mushroom bigger than what they thought. Having said that, we're at a pivotal point, a huge pivotal point right now. There's been a lot of, push about No Kings, believe it or not. I watched the other affiliates and they're all talking about the big day to see what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And I just think it's very, very important that we show up. We did it in the 70s. If there was like a small turnout to end the war in Vietnam, forget it. But it was actually in 1974 when we took to the streets. And I mean, there was, I can't even explain that era. So now I'm letting out the bag. I'm an old fart. But there were veterans, there were workers, there were everyday people. There were, I was in Washington, D.C. for that march. And it was bigger than Martin Luther King's march. And we changed. It changed that day. The war was going to end. And I'm sorry, I said 74, it was 72. Well, there you go. You have it. But that's my big concern. We've got, I don't know what else to say. If we don't do it, it's not going to happen. It's very, very hard, difficult times right now for a lot of us. But I'm not afraid. Okay.
We're not afraid either, Laura. We're glad
you guys are kick-ass cool. And there's a lot to be said, especially if you come in and new. You're never, never, never alone in this. I started this just maybe 7-8 months ago. Never even heard of Indivisible or 5051 and came on board. And I'll tell you, it has made me so hopeful on one end. And when I get scared, just know you can always speak to anybody in any of our chapters or the group that you're in, and you're going to have people there to support you. So I love you all. I really do. And carry on.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Lena, go ahead.
Hi guys, welcome to my office. I'm in the car driving kids around. I just wanted to respond to Laura. I think that is a great point. I know we don't necessarily have control right now about one big mass group protest versus small protests. One thing though that I have been thinking about a lot is that I think in the era of social media and in the era of us being all on our phones, we forget how powerful it is to talk to people IRL in real life. And asking people to come in real life, I think, is the number one way we get people to come, right? Is like, I have to pick up the phone, talk to my apolitical brother and be like, this is really important. Are you going to be there? Right. And so I think that's the first thing. And the way this connects to those smaller groups is I do wonder if there can be some power of organizing. If like you're in Arvada, you're driving your kids around, you can maybe fit in a 45-minute protest between soccer games. This is just like the stage of life I'm in, right? Here's my daughter waving at me right now. Can you like build community because you're in a smaller, like there's so much power, and I love going to the big march. It just like, I love it. I love it. I love it. But like also if you go to the Arvada one or whatever, Brimfield, are you going to build some community and meet a few people that live closer to you? And that's going to eventually make payoff for us as we're like building our power. The only power we have is people, and the only way we're going to do that is through actual relationship. But that's harder and harder right now, right? So that's like my hope for these like smaller gatherings is like people have easier ways to get there, and can they start building community? That's like my hopeful note for that.
So
I think that's a really good point, Lena, about building community. You're right. A huge part of growing this movement at this point is not going to be done on social media. Everybody on Blue Sky, we're all in an echo chamber that makes us feel good. But you know, we're all politically plugged in. So we do need to reach out to those people in our lives that are apolitical, and find what resonates with them on an emotional level. It's not so much about, you know, throwing facts at them. The same goes for when you're having Thanksgiving with your MAGA uncle. You don't need to recruit them to the protest, but connect on something that they care about, without just lecturing them.
and one of the things I was going to say is that we live in a very decentralized world, and like Lena was saying, the connections between people aren't the same as they were in the 1960s because of the technology that we have and the distributed nature of the groups that are involved. But that also applies to the people in these rallies. You can still get 10 million people out at 1,000 rallies across the country and have full national press related to it, whereas before you needed to get 10 million people to Washington to get that message out across the country. So it's really kind of a different world. And these small protests in these more rural places are like following up on the community building, where you'll see a small number of Democratic people or left-leaning progressive people feel like they can come out and say something, and then other people can see that, and even if they agree with what they're saying, you can start to change people's opinions. And it's much harder to do that in a big rally in a downtown city center than you could, you know, in a small Main Street park. In addition to that, you know, I mean, I would love to see big rallies, and I like the encouragement, like I think Laura was saying, where if you can go to the big rally in the city center, do it. But if you can't, go to the small one that's near you. But at the same time, there is value to having all of, you know, a bunch of small ones in different places, because that's better than not having anything at all. So it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And a lot of times there's no wrong answer. It's just what would be better.
Someone asked me the same question, like it's hard for me to get to Denver. It's possible, but hard. And does it is it still useful if I go to the protests in Arvada? And like Morgan said, oh, there's my dog at her 7 o'clock cue. She's tired of me paying attention to you guys. She asked if it still matters to go to Arvada. And I said, absolutely it does. So like Morgan said, if you can get to the big city, go to the big city. But if you can't, join your local protest, build community, meet people there, introduce yourself, ask people why they're at the protest, what's important to them. And then, yes, also like Morgan said, the 5 million figure that came from participants in the first No Kings was counting every single person at every single protest. So you're still part of the resistance and you're counted and it's impactful. All right, I'm just checking out the chat to see if there are any other questions. Katie mentioned that there is someone was asking about a protest near Colorado and something. If you want to come off mute, was
25.
that Katie? Or if you don't want to come off mute, will you put it in the chat again? I can't find it. You said it's near Colorado and what?
25 is what she said.
Colorado and I-25. Does anyone know the organization that is organizing a protest on Saturdays near Colorado and I-25? There is someone that is interested. I'm also going to see if I have the schedule for next week for the overpass protests. Those are so amazing. If you need to fill up that cup in your activist heart, go to an overpass protest or a sign waving protest on a major street. And all of those people that honk at you, it feels so good. Just to know that the average driver on I-70 or on I-25 going home from work cares about what we care about. I got to drive by one of our overpass protests the other day and I was honking so much that the person in front of me must have thought that I was crazy. It's like literally making me cry. That's how good it feels.
I will point one safety concern out that was raised to me by a local mayor. A lot of times with these overpass protests, it can distract drivers, and there are accidents that are caused by people looking up at the signs and honking and not paying attention to the car in front of them that has its brake lights on. With that being said, I think the banner protests over overpasses are a great idea. And I think that that responsibility needs to be on the drivers. I don't think doing these types of things is unsafe.
It doesn't go into effect for Medicaid until after the midterm elections, which they did on purpose.
Laura, you were typing out that Arvada and Golden are, you've had banner drops along I-70 and C-470. Will you email me your schedule for events like that? And oh, you're on mute. I was just gonna say, can you email me your schedule when you know it? And are you on Signal?
No, I'm on Discord.
Okay. So there's several groups on Signal. Like I'm part of the Southwest Denver metro area.
Mhm.
overpass group, and there's a group on Signal where we are trying to coordinate all of these protests together. All
What
the
can I do?
overpass protests. So shoot me an email and we can
Okay,
figure out how to get you connected, and I'll
I
put
do.
my chat.
Okay, how do I get, what's your email? Can you put it down?
Sure, I just put it in the chat for you.
I
It's
see it.
action@solidaritywarriors.org.
The other thing I wanted to add to that is, I think it's, is it Denver Indivisible, and no, I don't think it's Littleton, in conjunction with 5051. They're doing, like the overpasses from Wadsworth in Lakewood all the way down to Highlands Ranch. I don't know.
Oh, they are coordinating that?
Yeah, it's awesome. In fact, her name is Lori. I wish I could
Oh yeah, Lori's the one that I want to connect you with
yeah,
on Signal.
she's
I
such a
didn't
good
realize
artist.
they had it all the way
Yeah,
down there.
you should see her, the work she's done around releasing the Epstein files. Sometimes you're driving, you'll see them. And I don't know how regularly they are, but they're, it's just like sometimes I'm driving, I see these things. I got a few minutes, I go up there and go, hey, I'm here. But
Yeah.
the Westminster group, and his name is Wayne. He's been really orchestrating with all of us in this area, making the banners. And they just had
Okay.
one big banner making thing. And then what happens is we kind of keep them all together and rotate. So if we're going to Golden, they follow the Golden people. If they go to, and then we bring them back. So it's like, yeah, because you can't have 50
Okay.
banners. So I'll get you that info.
Yeah, and I have Wayne's email, so I'll
Yeah,
email him and see what he's
yeah,
got. But yeah, let me know your
I will.
schedule, and I'll get you connected with Lori, so that we can all work together.
Yeah, so
'Cause yeah,
tomorrow
that's
there's
great.
one in Arvada at I-26 in Elkhart, and it's from 3:30, yeah, 3:30 to 5:30. It's starting to get dark. I don't know how we're going to handle this, but when the time changes, if it changes, but we can't be up there
Um,
when it gets dark.
yeah. And did you say I-25 and Elkhart or I-76?
No, it's 26th Avenue, 26th
Ah,
Avenue and Elkhart. There's a
got it.
bridge that's going to cross, I think it's I-70.
Great. And what time is that one tomorrow?
3:30 to about 5:30.
Okay, great.
You don't really have to bring anything. They'll have the banners, but it's helpful if you bring like a flag or, um, something to wave at people so they can see up there.
Yeah, some people have just been bringing like a poster with pictures of Trump and Epstein, next to each other,
They're
things like
not going to
that.
really be able to see them. I mean, they can. I'm not saying don't, but it's hard because traffic's
Get
so
big.
fast. Yeah, you need the big ones. They're absolutely what you'll laugh at half of them. But that one is a particularly noisy pedestrian bridge, and so I would suggest bringing earplugs because it drowns out the music. Someone always brings a boom box or whatever, and we just have fun up there.
Yeah, I'll see if I can grab some photos real quick from Lori's recent protests.
Yeah, they're
And I'll
good.
put those in the chat.
Okay, will do. All right, I'm leaving
Great.
you guys to go
Okay,
to Brittany's town hall. I'm sorry.
awesome. Yeah, let me know how it is.
Okay, I will. Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
So does anyone else have, yeah, so I was going to mention that the sorry, the Southwest Metro overpass protests are a coalition which Solidarity Warriors is part of. So it's quite a few indivisible groups, 5051 and Solidarity Warriors that are putting those on. And does anyone have any questions? Jen had to leave, but I'm trying to find out how we should contact her. Let me see if she
I can answer a few press questions if we've got, and one of the things I wanted to talk to Jen about before she left that we didn't get to is the use of AI. Right now, if you learn a little bit about AI, it can make writing your press releases a lot easier. And if you don't feel like you have a lot of experience doing it, you can have a computer do it for you. And that's something that I learned. You know, I've been writing press releases for a long time, and having kind of that second set of eyes to put it together for you can just make your life a whole lot easier, especially if you have to send a lot of them out. Like if you are sending one every day for a week, you don't want them to necessarily all be the same and be all the same. You know, you're gonna need the important information is gonna need to be the same, but you're not gonna want it to be the same press release every day, day after day after day, because it'll start getting ignored. If it's different, people will look at it and say, oh, what's different about this at the very least, and then actually read it. But being able to use AI may be able to make your life a lot easier.
I second that. I had to write a full-blown research paper, and I chose to write on why anarchists should adopt strictly nonviolent civil resistance tactics. And it was a big project to take on for a 10-week class. But the teacher was a big proponent of using AI for research. Obviously in school, you don't want it to write for you, but things like press releases that could be super helpful. One thing I would definitely do is AI, at least I know ChatGPT always puts these dashes in there, like the double dash. So take those out. Otherwise it's immediately recognizable as AI.
That we have to check to, and they have to come back and show, document that someone.
And Lena, I agree with you. I have an IT background and have been very resistant to AI for a very, very long time. There is a use for it, and there is a time and a place, and this is one of those times and places, and it's going to, it's not going to go away. And there are privacy concerns, and there are a lot of concerns about them. I am putting this out there for the people who it would be useful for, but I get where you're coming from for sure.
Just don't make it your best friend, your boyfriend or girlfriend, or your therapist.
And don't use it to write your dissertation.
Are there any other questions tonight, or does anyone want to talk about what your local group has been doing for press outreach that has worked well for you?
TL asked about the environmental impact of AI, and I can talk a little bit about it, because what happens is you get these server farms that, to get the computer processing power to literally teach the AI as it goes, is huge. You know, some of us are old enough to remember when a simple computer to do basic calculator functions was almost the size of a room. That's now being replaced by servers the size of a room, but they take a lot more energy, they have a lot more processing power, and that uses a lot of electricity, which is burning coal and fossil fuels. In addition to that, to me, AI uses a lot, cloud storage uses a lot, but also cryptocurrency and Bitcoin mining uses a lot. And the people that are serious about that ramp that up to a much larger scale than what AI is being used on. I am not aware of the people like Google and GPT and the big players in the AI world necessarily adding a lot of servers to do the AI. A lot of them are cloud server farms that were already set up and existing for data storage, cloud computing, collaboration, things like that. A lot of them already existed. It certainly does use a lot of energy. It certainly is not environmentally friendly. It is the only way to do it. However, and again, this is going to depend on priorities. As the computers get better and they get faster and they're able to do more AI with smaller platforms, there can be an efficiency that uses less energy doing it. But just like with cars, as they've gotten efficiencies out of the way they produce energy, they aren't necessarily going to use it to decrease the amount of fossil fuels they use. They'll use it to do more AI faster, or they'll use it to get more power when you step on the gas in your car. Even though they're more efficient, there needs to be regulation or incentive to make them take that efficiency and use it to decrease fossil fuel use and decrease electricity use, as opposed to increasing performance.
I definitely agree that regulation is super important for AI. Michelle brought up that it also uses a lot of water. From the research I did, and I did not vet it or verify it, so please do your own. It appears that over the last several years, since AI really came on the scene, the use of resources has gone down to about 1/10 of what it used to be. So that's encouraging. But yeah, regulations are important. One thing I have said is that Google's using AI already. Every time you search in Google, you get that AI summary at the top. And so personally, if it's in depth, or it would be easier for me to research by just asking like a real question that maybe has a couple subjects in it that Google wouldn't be able to handle, I will ask ChatGPT. There are also tons of other reliable AI research tools. I'll see if I can get that list from my English professor and see if I can attach that to the follow-up email as well. But yeah, so there are environmental concerns, but it is getting more efficient and we need regulations.
As far as the tons of water go, yes, they do use a lot of water. Most of it is actually in cooling, because these big computers and data centers produce so much heat with their electricity. A lot of times they will have like large cooling systems, the way large buildings are cooled for air conditioning, that keep the computers cold. Now, they don't necessarily need to run new water through it. It just takes a large volume. But my son happens to work at one of these, and not only do they have the municipal city water that they bring in and they use, they actually have 2 separate storage tanks connected to 2 separate wells for redundancy purposes. So it does use a lot of water, and in places, he's in St. Louis, where water is plentiful, it's not a big deal. But in some place like Denver and in the West, it would be. They absolutely could use gray water, and in fact, it would be a great use for gray water. So that would be an option, but nobody is talking about it. And there would be money for that conversion.
Lena offered to connect us with a speaker who could do an AI training from a social justice point of view. So I will definitely connect with you, Lena, and that will be coming up in our future. All right, any other questions tonight?
Will there be a protest in Denver when Trump is in Denver on Monday, October 20th? Plan to speak to you.
Trump will be
Tiffany.
speaking at the Denver Convention Center on October 20th. Wow.
So we knew about the International Police Chiefs Convention that was going on. I didn't know that Trump was planning to come to speak there. I will say.
Oh, it's on the 20th. It's not at the convention on the 18th.
Nancy says, will there be a protest when Trump is in Denver on Monday, October 20th? He's planning to speak to the International Association of Chiefs of Police.
Oh, of Chiefs of Police. They must be here for several days then, because
they're probably here for the
they're
whole
also
week.
going to be here on the 18th.
Yeah. I will say, since we didn't know that Trump was coming, to my knowledge, there isn't something that's planned. Knowing that he is coming, there will likely be something planned between now and then. That's the best.
We'll keep our ear to the ground and let you guys know. I plan to be sleeping for 48 hours after October 18th because I am not sleeping very much right now.
We are definitely busy.
Tiffany, can you remind me how the best way for me and you to connect later, and I can just send you some like possibilities, and then you can decide if it makes sense for training purposes, like for your guys' agenda for these Wednesdays. I can't remember the best way
Are
to
you are you in the Activism Alliance Slack?
I have been, but not for a while. So I can probably do it through getting back on the Slack, and then I like look for you there, right?
Yeah, so just send me a DM. Do you need the invite link again, or do you think it'll pop up for you?
I think this is where I betray my Gen X hatred of technology, my love-hate relationship
Here,
with
I'll
technology.
put it in the chat again so you can just click on it.
So I think I have it. I just haven't for a while.
And like I said, you can email action@solidaritywarriors.org and that'll get to us too.
Okay, cool. I got it then. So I'll reach out to you, Tiffany, and you can decide if any of what I have is helpful or not.
Awesome. It sounds really great.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I'm going to run. So good to reconnect with everybody.
Yeah. Everybody can hop on the town hall with Brittany Peterson. Someone just asked, do we have a sense of whether ICE or other federal agencies will show up and brutalize protesters on October 18th? Brutalize, we are not expecting that. Do we expect there to be an increased police presence? Yes, for a couple of reasons. So there is the police chiefs convention at the convention center, which is going to be happening on the 18th through at least the 20th, it sounds like. So we expect there to be increased police presence because of that, as well as recent changes in the political climate. I think Morgan or maybe someone else mentioned since Charlie Kirk was shot, there's definitely the president of our country is fomenting hatred. So we are expecting it and we are prepared for it. So we have, I believe, at least 30 to 40 safety marshals that are going to be there. There are very experienced safety marshals. There are also some new safety marshals. If you're interested in being trained as a safety marshal, please send me an email. If you need my email address again, Morgan, can you drop that in the chat one more time? And there is a training coming up. I don't remember what day, but Patty, I think from 5051, is going to be doing Zoom training for new marshals. So we could definitely use you in Denver or at any other local event that you want to help out at. It's a great idea for new marshals to be paired with experienced marshals, which is what we're going to do in Denver. So not only do they get the experience, but we make sure that we maximize the de-escalation techniques of new and experienced marshals. So we definitely are prepared, and we will. That's another point, though, is Indivisible and Solidarity Warriors expect everyone to de-escalate situations that may come up. There's going to be an increased counter protest this time around as well. So we expect MAGA protesters. I'm not an alarmist, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to antagonize us more than anything. They're going to try to antagonize us and get that cell phone video of someone punching a Nazi in the face, as the saying goes.
Tiffany?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to address a couple of things Devin put in the chat specifically. I understand that this administration is breaking down the rule of law. To this point, ICE still has some limits on its focus. So I do believe that the administration is training ICE to be its brown shirt vigilante group to antagonize whatever group they want to go after. But right now they are mostly focusing on immigrant groups and less on antagonizing protests. What they have been doing is sending the National Guard in, which is a slightly different federal organization. And as of right now, I haven't heard any reports or plans of sending them to Denver. But if they're sending them to Chicago and LA and Portland, he already knows that Denver's on his list, and eventually they will try and start sending National Guard here to do it, even if our protests remain peaceful. As far as bringing a weapon to a protest, we are committed to nonviolence. There's reasons for this. It's not purely philosophical hippies, love stuff. There are very practical reasons that as soon as our protests become violent, that gives them an excuse to crack down and break skulls and kill people that we do not want. So absolutely do not bring weapons. It is unnecessary. We have our safety marshals. The police here have been at least cooperative enough to keep people safe. But as soon as things start going bad, escalating with a weapon would only have bad consequences. It's not going to end well for anybody.
Yeah, so the Denver police have whatever your opinion of them is, we do let them know part of what our plan is the day of. We do talk to them. We have a designated police liaison as part of our marshals team. And they do block off the streets when necessary to keep people safe on the march. We've talked about pillars of support in this meeting, and you probably heard about it if you went to the 1 Million Rising trainings. The police are a pillar of support. Now, ICE is completely separate. That I can address at another time. But the police and the military are going to be the ones who someday an authoritarian dictator like Trump could order to shoot on protesters. And in not Ukraine, I'm blanking on the country that the revolution was in, but Milosevic was in power, and the whole country was storming the Capitol in protest. And he ordered the military to shoot at protesters, and they refused. And when one of them was asked about it later, he said, I didn't know if my children or my family or their friends were in that crowd. And that's what we need. They don't have to agree with us, but they need to have empathy for us. And it doesn't make sense to antagonize them more than necessary. Well, I think that is my cue. Are there any other things that we want to discuss from the chat, Morgan?
There was a little more conversation about non-lethal weapons like pepper spray and things like that. And to that, if you feel more comfortable bringing pepper spray with you on a normal basis, that's fine. But I would still put that into a category of, if you find yourself in a position where that would be necessary for you to have, it is better to let the safety marshals de-escalate the situation and bring the authorities in when necessary than trying to take pepper spray out on your own and start defending yourself with it. When we and how do I explain this? I fully anticipate escalation from the authorities. And one of the things that we're in a unique situation is local police departments are not necessarily getting along and cooperating with ICE and the National Guard, like what's going on in Chicago. And if our local police department is at least indifferent or protects us when it comes to that, we want to have them on our side, and we have an opportunity to do that. And like Tiffany said, what your opinion of the police, I'm out in Aurora and there's a lot of controversial opinions about the police. And in general, I think the police have historically been used to persecute various minorities through history. I'm not a big fan, but in terms of a protest movement and pillars of support, being able to have the local police on our side, more or less, like Tiffany was talking about that story from Yugoslavia, is important. So I would say, again, we try and have well-organized protests. We try and keep everybody safe. We try and plan for contingencies. And I think if you're in a situation where the police starts using pepper spray and starts using tear gas, be prepared for what you need to do. We actually have a full video on YouTube about how to protest safely and what to do and what things to bring in that case, and be prepared for that. To be concrete about it, I don't see a scenario where having pepper spray is going to benefit you, because if there's a line of police in front of you that are shooting, pepper balls and rubber bullets, they're going to have full face masks. They're going to have full shields. They may even have gas masks. That pepper spray, unless you're walking up to them and lifting that up and spraying it underneath it, isn't really going to make a lot of difference. And you're not going to want to be pepper spraying other protesters, and you're also not going to want to be pepper spraying counter protesters. All of those things as individual decisions are not going to have an outcome that I would see as desirable. I would say make sure that your phone is secure, turn off your facial recognition, maybe turn the phone off completely or leave it at home. Make sure that you have your water, your sunscreen. If you need like a vinegar soaked cloth to cover your mouth, if there's tear gas, all of those type of typical counter protester things. But I think pepper spray and even non-lethal weapons aren't necessary and aren't going to be beneficial.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say we're going to go over all of that in detail next week. So it's going to be some of the information that we went over that's in the video on YouTube. I don't know if you can find that link to the video, Morgan, but we're also going to have new information, especially about the, increased threat level in our country. I know it's not pleasant to visualize this. But during the civil rights movement, the really horrific images of protesters being assaulted and not fighting back are what really changed the opinion of the country and the government and got everyone on board. Obviously, we wouldn't expect something like that to change the Trump administration, but that is what can show the country. We don't have to be assaulted for this to happen, but us continuing to be completely nonviolent, no pepper spray, no property damage. That's what's going to show the people that are on the fence that this is a movement that's safe for them to be a part of. And encourage more people to join in the resistance.
And I've said this many, many times, I expect violence to escalate. I especially expect the administration to escalate and try and commit acts of violence against peaceful protesters. And I think how we respond needs to be careful and measured and thought out. So
to address what Devin's saying, he said that he definitely doesn't want to use pepper spray against the police, but he has been threatened by an angry driver in June at the No Kings protest. So he was curious about carrying pepper spray for self-defense or defense of others. So I think in that type of situation, you want to find the nearest safety marshals. There's going to be enough that hopefully you'll be able to spot one in your area. They're going to have bright yellow or orange vests, and they'll have a radio on their hip. If you can't find a safety marshal, look for one of us. We'll have bright like yellow or green lanyards, and find one of us, and we will be able to find a safety marshal to handle the situation.
And the situation that Devin is talking about, I see that kind of less associated with a protest. It just happened to be a protest is where the opportunity was. This could happen at a banner overpass testing, and it has. It could happen on a street corner because of the bumper sticker that you have on the back of your car. And outside of the context of a protest, how would you handle that situation anywhere else? And, I'm not going to tell you what to do in your regular everyday life outside of a protest, but in a protest context, that is what I would recommend doing. And if you're in a situation where there is a driver threatening, you can walk away in a way that they would have to drive over a median and wreck their car to get to you, and just move away from them. A lot of times the light turns green and they have to drive off, and that can solve the problem. I do think it is a reasonable concern if somebody stops their car and starts threatening you to be wary about it. Even in that case, if somebody says, I've got a gun in my glove box and I'm going to kill you for being a protester if you don't shut up, taking your pepper spray out and pepper spraying them in the car, I have a hard time saying that's going to work, or it's going to stop them from reaching across to the passenger seat for their gun and shooting you. But at that point, when it's not part of the protest, I think that's a personal decision that is not something I don't have the experience and expertise to advise on. If that makes sense. To answer the question of how are the safety marshals trained, there are a variety of groups and organizations that do the training. Some of them are in person and some of them are in line or online. Most of them have to do with methods of de-escalating situations, role-playing scenarios, where these are the types of things that you may come across, and these are ways that you can respond that will churn the outcome, and most importantly, like I said, de-escalate the problem to resolve things.
Nancy made a good point. You want to stay aware of your surroundings at all times. During the first No Kings, there was a post going around on social media that said, if you see someone, start escalating and, throwing things at the police, immediately sit down to isolate them so that the media and the police will know that they're just a bad actor. Do not do that, please. Do not sit down. You need to be able to exit the situation as soon as you see something like that happening. You want to have an exit plan. If you are with someone, you need to have a rally point outside of the protest area and the march area where you're going to meet if you get separated. And Michelle brought up a very good point that Martin Luther King Jr. emphasized that peaceful protest and noncompliance is a life philosophy and an expectation that we will not endure violence is unrealistic, but nonviolence refuses to feed violence. And I was also saying I want to learn more about how the groups that were with Martin Luther King Jr. Role played by literally like screaming, taking turns screaming in each other's faces to simulate what they might endure. Martin, do you want to talk, or Morgan, do you want to talk a little bit about the role playing that you did in the Marshals training recently?
Sure. And actually so I took a marshal training this last weekend because I am going to be marshaling for the first time coming up. And it very much is exactly the same type of role playing that they did at lunch counters during the 1960s. You split up, there's an A and a B, and one person is an aggressive counter protester, and the other person is a safety marshal who needs to respond. And it is surprisingly realistic because you can, even as the MAGA protester, it's very easy to get into their head and view things through their world and use the arguments that they do and get agitated and wound up and angry in exactly the same way that you see these counter protesters. And that makes the safety marshal able to use their techniques effectively and really see how it will de-escalate the problems. One of the role playings that I was involved with involved a protester, somebody on the protest side, picking up rocks and starting to throw them towards a glass window. And what I did is I said, look, you really don't want to do that because this protest isn't organized for people to get arrested. We don't have money for bail. We don't have money for lawyers. We can't reimburse for a broken window. And just taking out the emotion of being angry and able to throw a rock through a window was enough to get this person to think about what the real life consequences would be and de-escalated the situation. And I know this person, I know them well. They are not I mean, they were in the moment, they were there, and it redirected them and gave them something to think about that was real world consequences for something that would be taking an action out of anger and de-escalate the situation. So those are the types of things that you'll do in these trainings so that when those situations happen, when you're out in the field, you'll know what to do. And you'll have already experienced what it's like to have somebody yelling in your face and need to redirect them.
All right, folks, it's getting late, so I'm gonna wrap it up. We can definitely continue. This is great discussion for next week, since we're gonna be talking about this stuff specifically related to No Kings 2. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. It is always a pleasure to see you. I look forward to Wednesdays every week. And as always, I will get that follow-up email out to you as soon as I can.